Every detail was planned well in advance. The podcast audience seemed perfectly aligned with Angie's expertise. The podcast host enthusiastically booked her to speak on his top 100 podcast in marketing. The date was set. Angie prepared for weeks in advance to ensure she got everything just right. She purchased a new outfit for the video recording, had her hair done, her nails too, just in case she grasped her microphone just so. On the day of the recording, Angie's 2-year-old woke up screaming bloody murder. Johnny's temperature registered 102 degrees. As she cradled him in her arms, Angie felt weakness mixed with dread. Buckling under the combined dead weight of Johnny and her legs that had somehow turned to jelly, she slid to the floor. Her cries joined his, and she moaned, "The podcast! Oh no, my big break!" Is Angie's opportunity salvageable? Before we answer that, let's keep it real. I don't have a 2-year-old, but like you, we could be put in Angie's situation. You might have a 2-year-old camera that quit working, or a 2-week-old laptop that dies the day of your big podcasting guest opportunity. What unifies all of us today is this. As entrepreneurs, we continually find ourselves on roads where the wheels on the bus, they don't go round and round, round and round, round and round. Hey there, I'm Jen Rogers, host of the Empowered Stepmom podcast. After spending time with me today, you'll walk away with new insights on the power of podcast guesting so you can become a memorable guest with staying power, even when no, especially when an emergency has your legs turning to jelly too. If you're ready to create a high level of service that will have organic audiences raving about your host's episode and you because they heard you on a great podcast, you are in the right place. It's time to grow your listenership through podcast guesting. You'll need to implement 3 tactics to become a memorable guest that gets invited to guest again and again, expanding your influence and client acquisition with each episode. Consider the game of tennis, or to align with the latest craze on the court for all ages, consider pickleball. Both tennis and pickleball use game, set, and match. It's important we know the rules of the game before we can create a winning game plan, a strategy to grow our influence and our bottom line. When it comes to the strategy for podcasting, guesting as an expert on top rated shows is one of the fastest ways to build momentum and revenue for your business. First, it's important to note that you are playing the long game here, and preparation is essential. Long game means there is no overnight success. Let me say that again. There is no overnight success. There is no one podcast guesting opportunity that will make you a 7-figure entrepreneur. However, just like pickleball matches are often played in a best of 3 set formats, your cumulative effort in each game will create a set of successes so you can guest speak your way to growing your business through a selfless desire to serve your host audience first, one podcast guesting experience at a time. And there you have the first thing to create the most important mic drop moment: serve. Recently, my husband and I invested a couple $100 in some new expert level pickleball paddles. We've been playing for a little while and we've moved beyond getting our butts creamed every single time. And instead, well, we're hooked and we want to up level our equipment in hopes that we will win a few more games, sets, and matches. Now, no matter which paddle we have, we simply couldn't play pickleball without paddles. And you simply cannot just hop on a podcast as a guest without the right equipment. In this case, let's define equipment as knowledge, the gathering of all the intel we need so we can successfully serve. If you're here, you're likely ready to jump right past all the obvious things like a good mic, a clean space for video guesting, and headsets if the host requires them. If you're new to podcasting, be sure you do the preliminary research to acquire and then practice using that basic equipment with confidence before you seek a host and an audience to serve. Maybe it's my few years in the Army, or maybe it's because it's easier to remember things with a mnemonic device. Let's build on our pickleball analogy and use the acronym SET, SET, to learn more about how to create mic drop moments for podcast guesting. Did you catch the S? We'll come back to it together in just a moment. Before we go deeper, please hear what this talk is not about. It isn't about how to do the research to find the right podcast you want to guest on. This talk is not about preparing a killer one sheet for your host. And finally, this talk is not about how to select those podcasts you want to guest on. This talk starts with you having all the right hardware and you having your preferred guesting opportunity list in hand. Okay, let's learn together how to create that perfect match between you and your host. The S in set represents serve. How do you serve? It all starts with a blank slate and a keen eye. Review the podcast you've selected for guesting. Get ready to capture key concepts and SEO as you do the following. Review the podcast description. Review titles of the last 20 weeks. And if it's a high frequency podcast, review the last 20 to 30 titles. Read reviews to look for keywords that occur repeatedly by the listeners. I'd like to use a spreadsheet to capture words so I can then sort and see how often those common words appear. I am a recovering public accountant after all. More on the spreadsheet in just a bit. What titles pop out for you? Or which ones make you groan? How can what you do serve this host uniquely with a new perspective that engages at the host and keeps listeners curious and tuned in? Let's review this title together as an example. Faith and Fortune, a woman's roadmap to network marketing triumph. You might consider a flip to this approach. Roadmaps don't work. 3 things to do on autopilot to grow your network marketing business fast. In this example, you're creating interest by challenging the concept of roadmaps. As you create your talk, which should have no more than 3 points, as I'm modeling for you today, you might say, when I said roadmaps don't work, here's what I mean. Someone else's roadmap won't work for you. Here's what to do instead. Or you could stick to roadmaps don't work and give 3 powerful ways that network marketers can grow their business instead. Let's move to the E in our SET acronym for powerful podcast guesting experience for you, the host, and the audience. E stands for extract. Pick from top performing episodes. Use Chartable or Apple Podcasts to see which ones are most popular. Listen to 2 episodes. Yes, 2. If your host has solo and guest episodes, then listen to one of each so you can get a feel for how the host rolls. Remember that Excel spreadsheet I recommended? As you listen, jot down words that stick out to you from each episode. If you're like me, you're going to listen on 1.25 or 1.5. You do what works best for you. This will create topics of interest that you see are rising to the top when combined with the research you complete in step 1. When I wanted to guest on the Uncommon Teen podcast, a top 1% podcast for teen girls, I found these key words that were clearly important to the show's host, Jamie, and her audience: identity, friendships, prayer, anxiety, and bullying. To illustrate how those 5 keywords of my research impacted my pitch and the talk, here are the 3 questions or main points I shared with Jamie to offer up on her show. 1. What if what you said could change a life? 2. What if what you did could influence others? And 3. What if what you believed could change your future? This pitching strategy and talk creation template, it worked. Jamie ultimately accepted and titled the episode The Truth About You. So far, we've covered S, serve, and E, extract. Let's move to the final letter in our acronym, T. T stands for trust. Remember Angie, her legs buckling from underneath her as she cradled her 2-year-old in her arms just before her big guesting opportunity? Right now, in this emergency, is not the time for Angie to build trust. It's already too late for that. Now's the time for her to use the trust she's already built into the process. Before you discover what happens next for Angie, a successful podcast guest, let's look at how she built trust. Angie timely responded to every inquiry. Angie has an easy-to-use link with a press kit already prepared, whether that's a shared Google Doc or her webpage with a /press kit. Angie has approached this opportunity with a servant mindset. Angie extracted relevant information to create a pitch that serves her host's audience. And Angie's also done what most guests don't. She told the whole truth. You've heard the lesson truth from other guests. I created this special tool just for your audience, and it's the same tool and link they use for every audience. You can find it directly on their website. There's no even need to listen to the podcast episode to get the freebie. Let me show you how you can emulate Angie's trust building clincher and tell the whole truth. When I guested on the Uncommon Teen, I created a unique workbook for girls. That's right, I took my 3 talking points and created something I knew her audience would love. You see, Jamie gives her listeners homework on many of her episodes. As I discovered Jamie's propensity to create powerful tools for her audience in my extraction phase of being a great podcast guest, I crafted a unique to Jamie's podcast lead magnet that matched the title of the episode, The Truth About Me. Inside, I referred the listeners to my host membership. I didn't refer them to my website. That's what serving is all about, helping your host grow their audience's skills and confidence by offering up a valuable resource created just for them. That's the truth. Finally, I shared the podcast resource with the host and asked permission to share, and also asked her for feedback on what I had created. If you want to see the opt-in page for Jamie's Uncommon Teen audience, head on over to coachjenrogers.com/uncommon teen just to take a look at the opt-in page. And that will show you how everything is geared towards serving her audience, not mine. You can do exactly the same thing. You can tag this resource uniquely in your content relationship manager and share the opt-in success rate with your host after the show is released. So, when your kiddo is spiking 102, or your laptop dies, or your camera simply won't turn on for a video interview, you've demonstrated the commitment to your host, a strong desire to serve, and the likelihood this host will accommodate a reschedule because the prep, the communications, and a desire to serve are that strong. That's exactly how this story with Angie wraps up. When she notified the host of her predicament, she received grace. Spiking fevers and broken equipment is out of your control. Setting yourself up for success as a guest is very much within your control.